Und zurück bei Fast Forward und hier sitze ich jetzt im Schloss Bensberg mit Peter Buck und Mike Mills. Welcome on the show.
Thank you.
I just did a long interview with, I think he's a friend of yours, Robin Hitchcock.
Oh, yes.
And as all the viewers already know now, he's managed a reunion of the Soft Boys. Have you seen them live yet?
Oh, it was great. I played with them a couple times.
Where was that, in London? Or?
No, in Los Angeles and Seattle.
Oh, okay, but the real Soft Boys then,
Yeah,
sort of, that must have been recently.
Just, in the last month or two.
Yeah, because I saw them in London and I nearly cried because my boyfriend is a really large fan of them and it was amazing, 20 years later.
It was great to see them. I guess they're working on a new record too.
Yeah. And is it true that the Soft Boys were sort of one real reason why you founded a band in the first place, or is that sort of just gossip?
I've been fans of the band for a long time, but I think our band was together before I ever heard the Soft Boys.
Yeah.
But it was great to see someone doing something that wasn't. You got to remember what 1980 was like. You know, I mean, everyone was new wave or new romantic or whatever, and it was nice to see someone that wasn't like that.
Yeah, they were absolutely anti-punk or whatever, doing some more 60s music somehow. I'd like to talk about the new album, Reveal, and for me it sounds very subtle and reduced somehow. Did you sort of want to record it quite reduced right from the beginning, or did you record lots and lots and then sort of clean it up afterwards and got rid of stuff?
I think one thing you learn after making records for so long is that silence is a very nice, space is a very nice thing, and knowing where to take things out, knowing where to put things in is very useful.
Yeah.
I think we didn't really have to take so much off because we had a pretty good idea of what we liked as we put it on there.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I realized is that you really have like pauses in it without anything, sort of teeny weeny millimeters of seconds sort of somehow without anything. It's brilliant. And I think this album has sort of a very special mood to it, the whole album somehow. Is that sort of a mood you created and said, aha, we want it on the album, on the complete album, or is that something that just comes up because that's the way you feel while you're recording?
A little bit of both. We knew what we wanted to do when we came into doing the record. We had the songs written.
Yeah.
We wanted to work with strings and horns and have kind of a lush, beautiful record. But as the record progresses, it changes, and a lot of things that we thought would be on the record didn't make the record. And by the end of the record, it turned into something we hadn't really foreseen.
Yeah. And there were some problems between the three of you that you've got rid of in the meantime. Would you say this new album is sort of, you can hear somehow the result of healing discussions somehow?
Well, it's certainly a lot more fun to make than the last one.
Yeah.
I think really the main result of what happened before is that we were very focused on this record. We didn't have any outside distractions, and we were able to concentrate just on what we were doing and actually enjoy the process a lot more than we did last time.
And is it true that you didn't sort of put yourself a time limit this time also?
Right, well, you know, it seems like every record we've made in the last 10 years, we've had to do something immediately afterwards, and we just, you know, there's a lot of pressure to finish. And this time we just didn't schedule ourselves anything except for the dates in South America, which were months after the record was done. So it's not like we spent more time. We actually spent less time than the last record, but we weren't forced into finishing until we were ready.
Yeah, okay. And for me, this new album sounds sort of very strong song-orientated, and you can find the sort of experimental stuff in the details somehow. And was that a thing that you already planned while you went into the studio, sort of saying, now we want to put strong emphasis on classical songs somehow?
Well, that's always what we've done. I mean, we don't make a record unless we've written a lot of songs. Good. But then, you know, every year you make a record, or every other year, and you think you've written great songs, and some years it's better than the other. It just so happens that this happened to be a really good year for us. I mean, partly because we're really focused and ready to go, but, you know, it's also that kind of magic thing that occurs. You don't know what it is. Okay,
and we just have to make a little break, and then we'll be back. See you in a few seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Und zurück bei Fast Forward mit Mike Mills und Peter Buck von R.E.M. hier im Schloss Bensberg. And how do you work in the studio? Is it always you three together there, or has that changed over the years, the way you work together?
Well, I think everyone tends to be around more than they used to, maybe. We always have a producer who's very helpful in helping us make decisions and discussions between the members, he can give you an outside influence and tell you what might be best and what might not.
Yeah.
But generally, we're all there as much as we need to be, as much as we can be. You don't have to be there every second of the process if you're working with people that you trust.
Yeah, yeah. And this sort of, how far would you say this social system, if you can say something like that, the social system rock band has changed over the years, if you sort of compare it, let's say, today and the 80s or whatever?
Well, for us, it really hasn't changed much except for the most obvious one, which is Bill leaving and us having to go from 4 to 3. But other than that, we still, we have our little rules that help us work, such as we're very democratic about everything, and if there's something that somebody really doesn't like, then we certainly won't force that on anyone.
Yeah, and there are lots of people that sort of go on about, oh God, and American music is so stagnative at the moment. And where do you see sort of new ideas coming from, but besides of your music, of course?
There's great bands everywhere. Every country we go to has great music. In most countries, that music isn't on the radio. That's just the way it works.
Oh, yeah.
If you're someone like me who's going to go out and discover new bands, it's a great time for music. But if you're depending on turning on your top 40 radio station and hearing new stuff, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay. But are you sort of people that sort of look out for new stuff and stuff? Because I often talk to bands and they say, no, well, I don't give a fuck about the new things. I only listen to old stuff, really.
I'm always going out and buying records, seeing bands. There's tons of new stuff out there.
Yeah.
I like going to clubs. I don't really like to go to big stadiums to see bands, so I'll go to see a bunch of club shows. And, if I see 5 bands, maybe I'll really like one of them.
Yeah. And this is the final question already, I'm afraid. Do you think that, as the American Democrats say, that music or even art in general can have a bad influence on people?
I think that art has done so much good for the world.
Yeah.
And I think what the world would be without it. I can't think of a specific instance where art has made anyone do anything bad.
Yeah.
I think the state of the world is pretty sad, and I think you can blame it on people rather than art. Television is stupid. Does that make people stupid, or are they just stupid because they,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true.
I think, especially in America, you got a country where there's more guns than there are people, and there are hundreds and thousands of homeless children on the streets worrying about art having any kind of destructive influence is just crazy.
Yeah, but because I always think it's sort of, even if art is aggressive or whatever, it's just sort of reflecting society somehow. It's always, I think the society gets the art that it deserves somehow.
Sure, and I've never heard of anyone buying an album and going out and committing a crime.
No, but that's what lots of people try to say, isn't
Sure,
it?
but lots of people go out and buy guns and commit crimes, but in America, anyone can have a gun. So I don't know what people are worried about.
Yeah.
If you're worried about that kind of stuff, watch out. Let's make guns illegal.
Yeah.
That isn't going to ever happen. So they have to attack something that's simple, like, music, goodness.
Yeah. Sort of Marilyn Manson or whatever, and go, it's his fault. Okay.
Just about every serial killer in history has thought that God was prompting him on. So, that you can't ban God or anything.
Yeah.
Ban the Bible.
Yeah. That would be the first step. Super. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're done already. Thank you.
That was great.
And I just tell you, this is only 2 segments for as long as short as you want it to be. We never cut anything out. So everything that happens always stays in, and everything anybody says always stays in also.
Well, that's an interesting concept.
Why? Yeah, well, other people cut stuff out, don't they?
I like that, actually. I always feel like it's a cinema verite with me, People always kind of trim it up and make it less interesting, so.
Yeah, but that's what we sort of think, that when people are fans, they want to see their, artists talking and not sort of other people deciding what they're allowed to see and what not.
Right.
So sort of this stupid
Unedited.
censorship. Yes, unedited.
In
exactly.
other parts of the world, we call that give them enough rope.
Really?
And they'll hang themselves, yeah.
Oh, no.
No, it's fine.
Okay, good. Can we start?
It's not like haven't we already started? I hope.
No.
Oh,
We'll start.
This is part of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This should be a part
This is
of it.
in, fast forward. Then we'll take it in. Okay. Because we are so raw, aren't we? So I'm not going to ask you anything about the meaning of the lyrics, but I'd like to talk about the lyrics writing, sort of the technical aspect, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sort of, do you start with a strong phrase and image, and that sort of takes you somewhere that you couldn't have imagined that you would land there, or are you a controlled writer that sort of knows what you want at the end?
More of the first.
The first.
Than the second.
It takes you somewhere.
I don't really. It's not like I have an idea and I pursue it. The best songs just come out of me like vomit or like a hairball. I don't own a cat. I don't have a cat as a pet, but people who do have cats have told me that that's an apt, if kind of disgusting analogy. But it's something that I can't help. It just comes up out of me. And it lands on the table, and I look at it and I go, okay, well that's something. And then I put it with music, and it works. And then I edit it or move some parts around, maybe figure out what the fuck it's about, and then take that part, there's a main part of it, and repeat it a few times, and that becomes a chorus.
Yeah.
And then you've got a song. I then have to take it to Mike and Peter and show it to them and see what they think. And, you know, they're really great for me. They help me edit myself.
Yeah, so because they tell you the truth and you trust them, and that's how the thing works after.
Well, they know me really well, and sometimes they don't ask. You know, they just don't want it. It's like, okay, this is whatever. This is from somewhere, and I don't really get it, but you know, it works. So we'll leave it be. And sometimes they're like, that's a really bad line.
Okay.
You know, change that, or you know, one of them will throw a word at me, and it'll set off a whole new chain of ideas or thoughts, and that might take an existing piece and completely transform it into something else.
Yeah.
There's nothing mystical or magical about it. I trust my instinct.
Well, it is for other people.
A lot of
Come
people.
on.
A lot of people. I think. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, but I think the 20th century, among other things, kind of made it easy for us to ignore our instinct and be a little more kind of analytical or logical thinking. And
yeah.
That's very male. If you want to divide it into kind of gender quasi categories, it's a very kind of left brain or right brain thing. I don't really know those. Yeah. But I trust my instinct, and that's where my best work comes from, and I know that, and that's cool, you know.
Yeah.
With this record, I had a lot of songs like that where I didn't really know what they were until they came out, and then I examined. But all that to say, it's not something that
it's not conscious somehow.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I think is like delivered from heaven or pulled up from the core of the earth. It's not. I don't think I'm some kind of mystic vessel through which you know the gods are speaking to the little people or anything like that. You know, the point of all this is that it's something that we each have within ourselves. We've just grown up in a culture and an environment that doesn't really necessarily put a lot of value on that. Yeah. And I've managed through my job, and I have a very lucky job in that, you know, my job allows me the catharsis and the ability to kind of connect with a more unconscious voice, and that's what I found out over the course of 21 years is I think my most successful work. Yeah. And this, then the other question is also quite a technical question, but it interests me very much, is at what point do you decide what melody, do you like it? What melody, pardon? It's beautiful. Yes, it's amazing, but I think it's fake. Well, can you show the ceiling? I shouted out when I saw it. When I looked up, I went, wow! This is a really old place. I don't think it's fake. No, but look in the corners. I think it's too new. Well, it's probably... I'm not an architecture professional, but... You mean the white part of the corner? No, sort of the quirly parts. It looks too new, too good to be old. Well, it's been recently renovated. Okay, maybe that's... They probably did as good a job as they could trying to fix it up. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I'm just guessing, also. That's beautiful, all the same. Yeah, I would love a room like that. Just imagine lying in bed and looking up. It's yours for right this second. Yeah, that's true. So there you are.